whatever projects that they have. So maybe the expectations, and then you also have the candidates themselves, what they promise. This is really the key. You have candidates going around promising all sorts of things. Is it that they do not understand the role of a National Assembly member, really how much one can do, or is it that they're just being scoundrels? I'm giving these people this information. But it is important that for us, the voters, this is really where the press comes in, that's where you need to educate. You can tell them really how much this person can do, given, these defined roles, given what we've seen. So this is the key. I think our expectations will be high, and then you will be disappointed. Whenever expectations are high, you always get disappointments. Remember when Barrow came in, the expectations were so high. So we knew that sooner or later, a lot of people will come and say, oh, betrayal of the revolution. That is the oldest slogan in the book. In every revolution, just give it time. After a year or two, suddenly you're bound to get some groups who will say, oh, the revolution has been betrayed, this sort of thing, because expectations were too high. So this is it. Let's try to adjust our expectations, the lens, to be more realistic. What is it that a National Assembly member can realistically deliver? Then we hold him to account, hold him to task in those things.
And in this case, like you said, people tend to hold their National Assembly account based on what he had promised them. And because perhaps they do not do it as of now, most of them don't know what exactly the role of a National Assembly member is. They promise things that is beyond them.
That's it, and I hope that during our debates we try to bring these things out. I remember you used to force them, these candidates, said, how are you going to do it? Where are you going to get the funding? You see, they talked about the legislation, and like, yes, legislation is one aspect, but legislation on its own doesn't automatically translate into funds. It doesn't work like that. So you have to go separately.
Yeah, I remember during the debate, we had a candidate who, when we opened the phone lines, people called and said, you promised that you were going to do it. And he was like, no, you misunderstood me. What I said was, if I get to the parliament, I'll make sure your voice are heard. So you realize how it is. But it's interesting. We just hope, the low turnout will change before the closing of polling stations in the country. Just earlier, we were talking about the parties that have chosen to maintain some of these sitting National Assembly members. Like we were talking about, the UDP has chosen to maintain 17 of them. Like I said, Asan Toure of Bakau, Kebake Barrow of Kombo South, Bunuka Kunda, Bakar Njai, Serekunda West, Maliki Sise, Alaji S. Dabo, Brikama North. We have Lamin J. Sane, Brikama South. We have Matar Jang, Lower Nyomi, Suleiman Saho of Central Badibu, Bakari Kamara of Kiang Central, Yaya Gassema of Kiang East, Kajali Fofana of Jara West, Seni Toure of Jara East, Alfuseni Sise of Same constituency, Alaji FB Sila of Nyani, Fode Drame of Kumana, Mohamed Mahanera of Sandu, Demboke Kamara Eliasa, and yes, these are the 17 that the UDP has maintained to seek election ahead of the Okay, we can now go to Banjul. Okay, we understand the president has just cast his vote in Banjul, and he's now talking to the press, as you are saying on your screens. That's the President Adama Barrow, accompanied by his wives. We have First Lady Fatima Barrow and Lady Sajon Barrow. They are at the Makati Square, which is in the Banjul Central constituency. The president is now talking to the press there. This was the importance of this election. If you are a registered voter, it is important that you go out there and vote, which is very, very important. Like I said, I was just trying to give you the list of the UDP candidates, 17 that have been retained to contest in this election. And of course, NPP also has 10 that they have retained. And we have Fatmata Jawara of Talini constituency, who was elected under UDP in 2017, cross-capital to NPP. We have Sekuba Jaji of Busumbala constituency, Umar Dawo of Opanyami constituency. We have Baba Gale Jallo of Sana Mentreng, Alaji Jawara of Lower Badibu constituency, Abdullah Sise of Ol Yundum constituency, Bileji Tunkara of Kantora constituency, yes, and Seku Marang of Latrikunda, Seku Marang of Latrikunda constituency. The other two are from the GDC, and that's Keba Jallo of Jara Central and Salifu Jawo of Jokado constituency. These are the 10 that the NPP has maintained to seek re-election in this election. And NRP is also have also chosen to retain 5 of the candidates that won in the last parliamentary election. Like I said, we have Alaji Mbow of Upper Salem constituency, Saini Jawara of Lower Salem constituency, Amadou Kamara of Nyanija constituency, Samba Jallo of Nyamina Danko constituency, and Usman Toure of Sabak Sanjal constituency. APRC that also maintained 4 from the 5 that won in the last election. Musa Amul Nyasi, Fonyi Kansala, Mamadou Kamara of Fonyi Bintang, Kadi Kamara of Fonyi Bondali, Alayi Sankun Jame of Jarol, and we have seen Sinkar Baji of Fonyi Brefet is now replaced by one Ibo Koli. The other 2 candidates that the APRC has put up are Suleiman Jame of Bunukakunda constituency and Sirif Sar of Joswan constituency. Mr. Mboch, the president has also cast his vote in Banjul, and I know he's there talking to the press, but I know our reporter Modlamin Choi will share with us what he's been saying about the election today, having cast his vote at the Makati Square, which is in the Banjul Central constituency.
Yes, I mean, surely he's one person you'll be certain that wouldn't have voter apathy, obviously. So, yes, it will be interesting to hear what he says. We couldn't get it earlier on, so it will be interesting to see what he says. I'm sure he will try to exhort his supporters to go out and vote.
The president is now leaving the Makati Square. Badingolu Melbe QTV Jibe Kanyitemento Banko Nyatango, His Excellency President Adama Barrow signed al carte fay Banjul Makati Square. Aning anamusu musunyawal nyata wala Fatimata Baroti aning Lady Sajambala Barrow kabiring ay carte fay aning kebata dia mutabari na kebata mo la mchebe je ngala aba fala mo le president ay moni foje bari nyitemento ngaje alaski noto nyamen President Barrow abimurukang State House Dramel ko aning Makati Square man jamfa mbok ngami inang siran QTV dina waxna be legi yang siran QTV comme nañ ko nekk di sen screen ci rek President Adama Barrow mo pare legi ni pour sani carte fale ci Makati Square andak ak ñaar jawarami ñaan mo nekk First Lady Fatimata Barrow ak Lady Sajambala Barrow gannaaw bu mu pare nak waxtaan ak taskat xibaar xam naa ne suñu naataango bon Lamin Coy ki nga xam ne moo ñu fa nekkal xam naa ne du yàgga dinañu wax président bi lan la fa gaaral gannaaw bu mu saane kattam bi pare musidɓe ɗon ɗo joni kono wonno yiide skiri mon rek président Adama Barrow kanko ɗo o ferima carte makko toto Makati Square ganduɗa ko no tawa he Banjul Central constituency bila arde reɓiɗɗo makko woni leydi First Lady Fatimata Barrow he Lady Sajambala Barrow bila o parino o haadi e ƴeɓɓoɓe hibaruji morandi ƴeɓɓoɓe men hibaru wonɗo oto Modou Lamin Coy o haalnamen ko wonɗo président o haali toon bila o feri carte makko de. So Mr. Mboj, now if you look at it, you will realize that we have a good number of the sitting MPs seeking the election. UDP 7, APRC 4, NPP 10, NRP 5, GDC 2, Umar Sise and Alaji So, they are all seeking the election. It's more like more than 30, if I'm right. More than 30 of them are all seeking the election.
Yes, so virtually all sitting MPs are seeking the election. Yeah. Virtually, yeah. All of them. And why not? You've won before, and you think that you've been doing a good job. And those in parties, you know, when your party agrees, of course, you can do that. And continuity might actually help to some extent. But my question is, how were those decisions arrived at? Isn't it important within the party machinery? I hope they did, some of them did, every end of term, as it were, that it depends on what the party says. I hope that there was a selection process where the possibility, for the party to have primaries, as it were. I think that is very, very important, because that means that the incumbent will be on his or her toes. You know that even within the party you might lose. I hope it is not automatic for them, since you are the incumbent, so we give you first choice whether you will stand again. That is unhealthy to my mind for a political party. Every term you must really fight to win that, to win the right, to contest the name of your party, and then before you can go to the country. But it's important for political parties to have it. So it will be interesting to know how those decisions were arrived at, whether it was just automatically assumed, or they had to go through some kind of primaries, or whether the party genuinely, the membership agreed that this person will go unopposed. Yeah. These are all different possibilities. But it's important to have a rigorous selection process within the party.
Yeah, and some of the sitting MPs who are not coming back to Parliament, already we know Halifa Sallah, Sarakunda is not coming back. I mean, Mohamed Magazi of Basek constituency is not coming back. Modu Sisa of Janjambure is replaced by Jarai Fayenke under UDP. We have Sana Jawara of Upper Fuladu West, who's been replaced by one Numukunda Kanyi under UDP. We have Alaji Dabo of Lower Fuladu West is also not coming back. Alaji Drame of Joswan constituency, who was elected under UDP, is also not seeking an election. Lamin FM Konta of Combo East is also not coming back. And Fakeba Koli of Kiangwes, who passed away. I mean, and I understand our reporter Modu Gajaga has now moved from Brikama. He is now in Fonyi block. Gajaga, you are in block now. I mean, how is the turnout in block?
Well, I live exactly. I'm in block and in one of the lower basic schools, and the turnout here not so impressive, but a little bit better than where I was at the Brikama Medina Bantaba polling station. At least here I can count up to 9 people just behind me. That's the queue who are coming to vote, to cast their vote in this National Assembly election.
I mean, what have they been telling you about the turnout? Are they disappointed too?
Well, actually, when you talk to people here, it seems that the turnout is very impressive, because I understand that in the morning there are a lot of people who queued to come and cast their vote for their candidate of choice. But as it stands now, maybe because the sun is a little bit hot, some of them have already voted and went home. But the turnout was much, much better in the morning. There were a lot of people, because for them they're too keen about the election concerning this National Assembly election in Fonyi Prefect constituency.
And has the recent incident in Fonyi in any way affect the turnout there?
Well, actually, I don't think that has anything to do with the turnout. The turnout remains impressive, because even on my way coming, I understand I spoke to some people who said in the other parts of the Fonyis as well, the turnout looks very, very good, comparing it to the most parts of the Greater Banjul and the Brikama areas. For most parts of Fonyi, the turnout has been impressive, at least.
I don't know whether it's possible if you can talk to some of the party agents there, the candidates agents who are there, just to find out from them also what's their take on the... I
have one of the candidates here, one of the independent candidates contesting, Saliu Bari, Fonyi Berefet constituency. So there is 3 of them in this particular constituency. Ibu Koli is APRC, Ami Koli is independent, and Saliu Bari is also another independent candidate. And I have Saliu with me.
Yeah, you can just engage Salif Gajaga.
Yeah. Yes, Aliu. I'm joined by Saliu Bari, one of the independent candidates contesting Fonyi Berefet constituency. Saliu, have you voted?
Yes, alhamdulillah.
How do you feel, and how do you see the people here, their turnout in terms of their excitement to participate in this National Assembly election?
The turnout is so impressive, because people came out early in the morning to vote. And then still people are coming, because you know we are in the Ramadan, so that's why people came early to vote and then go back home, because the sun sometimes is very hot. But it's so impressive. A lot of people turn out to cast their votes.
Okay. General conduct of the election, have you seen that everything is going on smoothly?
Honestly, yeah, everything is going fine, smoothly, and everything is fine. Honestly, everything is fine.
All right. Thank you very much, Saliu, for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Gajaga. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. Aliu Sise, that's one of the candidates contesting this particular constituency for New Benefit constituency. Saliu Barry is an independent candidate, also seeking to be a National Assembly member.
Yes, Gajaga, just briefly summarize for us in the local language, where exactly are you in Fonyi, and what can you tell us? What is happening in there?
Aliou Cissé baraka bake badimol milbe QTV jibe kam fela lejang Fonyi block sate ko dami ala ko kambe taw ko be keri jam be ala ko be kambe fayo be keri banko karo be na jamana ko tundo do ni ka fo tundo bi Fonyi berefet o tundo nyindo mol bi jele mila ala ko wolle be carte nyi nyinin kan sa intenting se mo dan tan continue milbe lole rangoto pour que carte nyi fay niya jibe folota police station mindo be kama Madina Bantaba je moma o be siya baake o nyama nata jele ngaje ko mol kilin bari Fonyi jang berefet nsa foko block teng sa en betamin to tending mol findita la nyama ya itandi fon ko somanda mol siata bakele mo jamal natal wole carte fay isere la suwol kono bambe sun karol kono tilo fana be kandering bari be tembe min to tending momo be siya baake bari nsa foko niani la dol jibe sa ko birka mo ande folo dami ma fon wala jande mo siata akamunta ko jamma fam mol dal wol findita la nyama pour ka carte fay ali mbewte mbol to jam
Baraka bake Mamadou Gajaga na report ni timida abe Fonyi block ngalang abe bola block radu da dot fanang Fonyi kono comme afanya min Fonyi block abe Fonyi brevet constituency do mi ko we have 9,124 registered voters. I mean Gajaga, if he is still on the line, Gajaga can also help just summarize for us what is happening in block in the full language. Gajaga?
Jarama no fewi Aliou minen do block Fonyi do andantuma hoorema koye tundu Fonyi berefet constituency in woni do woni do yimɓe yalti no heewi yimɓe yaltuɓe ɗo pour weddade carte ji maɓɓe ɗi no heewi no bete ɗum wiya subaka law yimɓe hewɓe arnoɓe weddimama haɓe pari ɓe hoti ka galleji maɓɓe ni en noon yimɓe wonɓe ɗo ne hewani no bete kono kamɓe dal mina wawi wiide sa daari e yimɓe andantuma hoorema kamɓe yalti pour weddade carte ji maɓɓe ɗi kamɓe ɓuuri hewde yimɓe sa daari e fannaji kewɗi because min ɗomi idori ɗo ɗum woni Birkama toon yimɓe hewan no bete Birkama Madina Bantaba toon ko yimɓe dantam min tawi toon ɓe ari ɓe weddima carte maɓɓe ɗi ni en ni ko Fonyi block men woni min wawi wiide ɗo ko candidate aji tati woni ɗo ɗaɓɓude National Assembly seat o ɗum woni Ibou Koli kanko ko APRC Koli kanko independent Saliou Barry nani ko boyano bete kanko o haalino sa kanko ko ari o weddima carte makko Aliou fendo ɗo nangue no wuuli yimɓe ne arde seeɗa pour weddanade carte ji maɓɓe ɗi woɗɓe waɗi ha paari ɓe hooti kono ni en ɗo yimɓe hewan ɗon ko ɗum woni ɗo ni en Fonyi block
a jarama Modou Gajaga ko wiɗade nangue wuli te yimɓe heɓe sumaye why I don't know if you can do the same in Wolof Gajaga, just briefly just summarize ci lu gàtt rek fan nga nekk ak foofu naka la mel.
jaajëf Aliou bàyyi ma laakal la olof yi kama suñ olof yi moom taxut koo kii noonu daal waaw maa ngi fii Fonyi block fu mu nekk nii ñëw naa fii pour gis sànni carte bi naka la nekk di demee si lu ma jota xam mooy ne nit ñi génn nañ bare si suba ñëw nañ sànni nañ seen carte ñeneen ñi ñibbi nañ seen kër fekk nañ fi nit ñi nga xam ne néew nañ trop bari wuñ noonu ñoom tamit ñu ngi sànni ñeneen ñi ñu ngi si rang bi suma gannaaw noonu di ngeen gis foofu nit ñi ñu ngi rang pour ñëw sànni seen député buñ bugga fii fu ma nekk nii mooy Fonyi berefet constituency soo ko xoolee ñetti candidate ñoo nekk di contest fii Ibou Koli moom APRC la Ami Koli moom independent la yaa ngi am tamit Saliou Barry yàggul noonu moom waxoon na ak moom di ko laaj ndax sànni na kartam ba pare mu ma woon ne sànni na kartam te génn bi soo xoolee nit ñi génn nañ trop fii sànni nañ seen carte ñeneen ñi ñibbi nañ seen kër yi sax ba pare so fu mu nekk nii daal Aliou loolu moo nekk di xew fii xanaa naaj bu tàng bi di nga gis maa ngi ñaxa tooy xepp.
I know am naa naaj bi dafa tàng trop waaye liggéey bi la waaye thank you so much Modou Gajaga for the brilliant work you're doing there. I mean stay safe and keep updating us from whatever is happening in Fonyi. He's currently at Fonyi block in the Fonyi Brevet constituency, which has 9,124 registered voters. And like you have heard from Gajaga, there are 3 candidates in the Fonyi Brevet constituency. Ibu Koli on the APRC, he is replacing Sunkari Baji, who has stepped down, and we have Ami Koli, independent, and Saliu Bari, also independent. Mr. Mochi, you have heard from Gajaga in Fonyi block.
Brevet. They're saying impressive. It will be interesting to know precisely what that means, because we know that in the presidential election, 67% of these registered voters came out to vote, 67%. So we'll see how it compares to that. And also in this Fonyi area as well, GDC.
Yeah.
Because remember in the presidential elections, the APRC split. It gave GDC what? I think they won 2 constituencies or so, something like that.
Yes, GDC won in Fonyi Councillor.
That's it.
Yeah. And
now,
one of them is Fonyi Councillor. That I know, yeah.
Yes. So it will be interesting to see, I think, how it will pan out in the National Assembly. We see Fonyi, of course, as an APRC stronghold. We see how much that the GDC can nick from them, given the split that they had during the presidential election.
Yeah, and because of that, I think it's Fonyi Councillor and Fonyi Bintam, because these are the 2 constituencies where the GDC has put up a candidate. For example, in Fonyi Councillor, they have a candidate there by Musa A. Nyasi.
Yep.
Musa A. Nyasi, you have Musa Amu
Nyasi. Absolutely.
A. Nyasi. So you also have in Fonyi Bintam, you have Simon G. Gomez. So I think these are the 2 constituencies that they won, Fonyi Councillor and Fonyi Bintam.
That's it. So that
yes, Mr. Moja, I understand our correspondent Ibrahima Jallo is now on the line from Janjambure in the Central River region. Ibrahima, welcome to the program. Where exactly are you in Janjambure, and how is your voter turnout there? We have lost Ibrahima, but then we will try to reconnect with him. Yes, Mr. Moja. GDC?
Oh yes, that is it. So we will see what happens here, because with the presidential election, well, that was Mama Kande.
Yeah.
Here you have other candidates. What appeal would they have to their constituents to come and vote for them? So I'm also really looking forward to what will happen in the Fonyi really between NPP and GDC and APRC, how it works out.
And the interesting part is that you realize that, I mean, in Fonyi, for example, this Fonyi Council and Fonyi Bintang, we have only 2 parties, GDC, APRC. The rest are independent candidates.
Yes, absolutely. And for others, they wouldn't even bother. Really, I mean, they will see it perhaps as a waste of resources. People know that that's the APRC stronghold, really, and the only reason why GDC sort of threatening in a few of the constituencies was really because of the deal that was struck between Mama Kande and the remnants. I call the other people the remnants of the old APRC party. So that is why. So people are just being realistic, other parties are just being realistic that here we are unlikely to win anything, so we better focus on the winnables, if you like.
I want to bring you in here. I mean, let's talk about the JDC. I mean, this is a party that has put up 26 candidates, and there's no woman. Do you find this?
Yeah, it's a bit curious. At least one would have thought that. At least.
I'll come back to you. I understand Ibrahima Jallo is now back on the line. Ibrahima, where exactly are you in CRR, and how is the voter turnout there?
Yeah, good morning, Aliu. Morning viewers. Yeah, we are here at the Bantam police station. In the morning, early in the morning, around 8 a.m. towards 9 a.m., we are there at the Janjambure police station. But there in Janjambure, the turnout was very good in the morning. But coming to Bantam now, the turnout here is very poor because people are coming one after other, like one by one. So it's like the turnout here is very poor.
And when you said the turnout in Janjambure was good, what do you mean?
Yeah, because the number of people that came out to cast their vote there in Janjambure this morning it seems encouraging. But when it comes to Bantang here, it's like it's encouraging as well. Because if you take a good look at the presidential election, the number of people that came out here in Bantang to cast their vote, we don't have that number of people on the ground here right now.
Do you know the reasons why?
Actually, it might be probably it might be because of the Ramadan, and people might think it's going to be a little bit hectic for them, like to come to the town and come and cast their vote. Because as you can see, this other part of the country, by this time of the year, it's going to be very hot.
But I mean, have you been able to talk to one or two of the IC officials there, or even the party agents to find out from them how they see the process?
Some of them, all they have to put for me is that people have been coming. They are coming up gradually. They are expecting by the end of the day, they will have the number of people they need to cast their vote.
And just summarize this thing in the local languages for us, Ibrahim, where you are exactly in CRR.
Assalamu alaikum baringol. Comme nga fole nyami doro talenti Bansam police station oto depuis de carte fay wala be kering bon tuma do nyinga jibe mol min fiti da kana carte fay ni silola iman siya bake because mol jigita no membe fiti la pour kana carte fay ani men fiti da sa kana carte fay amanke kilenti because mo ma fiti ila nyanta fiti la nyami ni somandan tata no janjambure bankoto ajana pour la constituency de carte fay kadami but mel men fiti da janjambure mol siya tare because wol nyaaje men fiti da janjambure wol ma fiti bat janjam wado askeno garomo be kering wado molka la fana o batalela because nyaaji be ni wati ko non dola banko la jamma falela kando ka kejang ani tumado mol mira o kando le fana ani batay de men takila sun garo ni la karola wa wole be kering musibe keto tobe hay joni me wonani o doto Bansan police station doto CRR no ngandi do ni rek o weta go karta wona do ni karta ngandula ko do ni député vote député jidi no ngandi do ni rek ni me ka Bansan police station kono kandari hinde yaltube pour ar weto karta mabbe e wano parce que dakni ko woto yawtuno do woni woto président ngadi yawtuno jamma ko yalti weddi karta mu e jamma ko yalti hande wona ko parce que hande jabo yalta tinde ko goto woni arde aramno ko di arde subaka nan ko jannambure be wonno jannambure na alhamdulillah himbe yaltunobe ton pour wedda ko kartal no heewi no buri won yaltube do to Bansa tan datti no way kadi jamo hare ko suma yo do lewru ko tan dum wari fere ha himbe mappe yaltani ala weddo karta mappe parce que tan datti ni hette ka e der ceedu wulay e nangue bittina jamo ta on tigi sono hori kadi pour yalta ala o daro e nangue hare ko tampere wonte ko do jamo ala yaltude no foti yaltude ni kon bokki luma ko do wani rek bete ñuy fiti Bansam police station fiti CRR pour nekkali nag nit yi génn nañ pour sànni seen carte bon soo leen xoolee nit yi ñu génn fii Bansan pour ñëw sànni seen carte bi bariwul dara parce que soo xoolee woote bu passé noonu mooy woote bi nga xam ne mooy woote président bi ñu génnoon pour sànni seen carte moo gën a bari ñu génn léegi pour sànni seen carte si woote député si suba bi ñu yoon fale si Janjanbureh nag su xoolee ñu fa génn pour sànni seen carte bari na lool kon fii nag ñu fi génn sànni seen carte bariwul mun na am tamit weeri koor bi moo ko tax because nag nga ko xamoon ni rek fii si weeri koor bi laay surtout si jamono bu ñu toll fii nii bii def de tànga naaj bi def de tànga mun na am loolu moo tëral ni bi dari pour génn ñëw sànni seen carte Aliou.
Jerejef Ibrahima Jallow, our regional correspondent in Central River region, where giving us updates from regarding what is happening there. Like you have heard from him, he was at Janjanbureh, where he said the turnout is much more better than what he has seen in Bansang. By the way, Janjanbureh constituency has 1,600 registered voters, and in Janjanbureh we have 4 candidates. We have Ibrahim M. Sajo of NPP, we have Jaray Fayinke, UDP, and we have Ibrahim B. Trawale of independent candidate, Umar Jame also an independent candidate. And in Bansang, where he is currently is in the Upper Fuladu West constituency, where also we have 6 candidates. We have Ismaila Cham of GDC, Bakari Kora of NPP, Numukunda Kanyi, who is replacing Sana Jawara of UDP. We have Amadou Jallow, independent candidate, Usman Dimbalan, independent candidate, and Yerom Balo, National Unity Party. And in Upper Fuladu West constituency, we have 24,701 registered voters in the Upper Fuladu West constituency. Mr. Mboch, I mean, you have heard from our correspondent there, Ibrahim Jallow. I mean, talking about the turnout in Janjanbureh is much better, even though it has the smallest number of registered voters in the country, Janjanbureh. 1,600 registered voters. Yeah, and you know, also in Bansang. Okay, like you are seeing on your screens, those are images in Fonyi. Our crew, Mumudu Gajaga and the team are now moving from block, moving towards Buyam, and just to capture whatever is happening there in the Fonyi region. Knowing the fact that recently we have seen some sort of instability there due to the clashes between the Senegalese forces and the rebels in Casamas. I mean, because of that, you know, so many people have been displaced. I mean, they have moved from their homes for safety to other places on Trans-Gambia Highway. And now that's our crew. They are now driving through Fonyi from block heading towards Buyam. And then our correspondent, Modu Gajaga, will be giving us updates as to what is happening there in the Fonyi region. Mr. Mboch.
Yes, Janjambure, quite interesting. It is often the first constituency to declare their results.
Yeah, exactly.
They're
always the first, actually.
Yes, they're always the first. But this one, it will be interesting because I think in the presidential elections, I think Abdullah Jame, they defeated Barra in Janjambure.
No, NPP won.
NPP won.
NPP won in Janjambure. Yeah, if you go by the presidential election, NPP won in Janjambure.
Maybe I've got here the wrong.
Exactly. NPP won in Janjambure.
That's it. But that's just as we've said. It doesn't automatically translate into a sit gain, as it were.
NPP won in Janjambure. Well, I understand our correspondent, Alaji A.F. Jallo, is also on the line from Basse, in the Basse administrative area. Alaji, welcome to the program. Where exactly in URR are you, and how is it for the turnout there, Alaji?
All right, thank you very much, Aliu. Right now, as I speak, I am in Kantora constituency in Pt2 village. We have visited almost 3 constituencies this very morning. As you have rightly asked, the voter turnout is very, very, very low, extremely very poor. We have gone to Woolley West and Woolley East, and right now we're in Kantora. But to be honest, the voter turnout, people really did not come out to vote. It is only in Woolley West we have seen in Kolibantang, and also in Sutukoba, Woolley East, we have seen a good number that people came out to cast their vote. But apart from that, all the polling stations that we have visited, almost we found nothing there. Absolutely nobody there to cast. Right now in Pt2, as we speak, the polling station is empty.
I mean, what are people saying, especially, you know, the IC officials there and party agents? Were you able to have a few words with them, maybe perhaps off record or whatsoever?
Yeah, we spoke to some of the some people, particularly those who are able to cast their vote. Some of them attribute this thing to the Ramadan, and what they're saying is at this time of the year, particularly in Upper River region, the climate is very, very, very hot. So it's not really a conducive environment for many people to sacrifice and come out and cast their vote. This is what most of the people are saying. They said the time that the election was brought is during the Ramadan, so it will be difficult for people to come out and cast their vote. This is one of the things that they're talking about. And others also have attributed to they don't know the importance, they don't regard the importance of the coming out to vote for the National Assembly election. So when you vote in the president, that's all they think. So the rest, they don't really care. But that is the situation right now here. That's what we find ourselves in URR. But as we speak, the temperature is around 43 to 44 degrees Celsius.
Wow, interesting, Alaji. But I mean, summarize what you have just tell us in English, in the local languages. Where are you exactly in URR? And just give us a general picture of the turnout in URR at the moment.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Ali. Bukumbe mfukanung angale kangotorek. Nintembo URR mpanam be kabring somanda me murumurung la pour ka kibaro ka natale commune election be la nyami worona député carte fayo. Bari kabring somanda na dati basele bari mbota basen nata Woolley East, Woolley West and Nintembo mbe diamu kale mbe fototole Kantora district mbota jang betala fo garawol ka police station bari nyaji be nganyim police station pe mun yayi molla funto doyata baken ni ajibe presidential election ni wato kasala la police station be farin tap bari min tembo be fototo daming teng hani mole fonte police station auto the officers IC officers be sirine e mantra mole fon atenka so ay tele ko the voter turnout molla funto this time a jita baken so bari ngani kar jamal leke pour ka munate na ni kusifa kasoro ayitamo lako election ya nati wato minna nati sunkaro la tam anun nyaji be upper river region ni wato fototo ni tembo temperature nying atara for 43 44 degrees celsius kan do be caring so aka kolala pour mo le funti la korda kono pour yena pour que la carte au fay ñinen kardol fana ñinin kale but jamal ma ñin election ma ku mayandi ma lon ko ñi election ñine ku mayata even the presidential election ba e carte fa presidential election wolon abanta wala to ya ku fa wala to so woto ñine be kering URR the voter turnout pona mol mantra funti kam malondu janning wularo be kala ñami bar ñin tembo jita bakele mol la funto ñin adoyatale aliou cc
in fula
ok musidɓe wonɓe hettade o wattuɗo wonɓe laarde QTV komin wono addande rek kibarji ɗin woni yawtude e nder leydi Gambia surtout e sengo élection parliamentary élection eɗen fof en andi hannde woni yimɓe ne yalta pour yaha wotana député ji meɗen pour hoccen ɓe wawa en tawenede ko national assembly kono guili Allah subaka weeti min yalti pour addangol on kibar on min yeehi wulli west min yeehi wulli east o wattu ɗo ni fewno ni meɗen fototo meɗen Kantora district kono gili men daari o subaka on ha joni Allah weeti yimɓe ɓen ala yaltude pour ara pour woota ɗum noon woni caɗele hewɗe min yewtidi e yimɓe hewɓe pour min anda ko honɗum waɗi yimɓe ɓen ala yaltude pour wootugol buyi holliri men o wattu ɗo ni sa daari wattu mo élection adda ko wattu sumaye te sumaye sakka e moƴƴa pour yimɓe ɓen yalta pour yaha pour wootugol te sa daari climate on wattu ɗo ni no wuli kat komi haali e ɗengal anglais e ɗengal ceɗɗe koɗo 43 degrees celsius no wuli ha so woɓɓe ma jaranani ɓe pour ɓe yalta pour ɓe ara ɓe woota o wattu ɗo ni sa ndaari ɗi tumdiji ɗe ɓe yeehi fof te woɓɓe kadi holliri ɓe anda ko woni nafa suudu député te ɓe andano suudu député on ɓuuri jogade nafa even presidential election ɓay tum ɓe wooti presidential election ko ɗon haaɗi kono noon caɗele no toon o wattu ɗo ni ɓeɗen continue e yewtuduɓe yimɓe ɓen on tuma men andat kadi ko honno yimɓe ɓen kadi jogiti URR kono fewno ɗo ko ɗiɗi ɓe haalni men caɗeleji woni honno woni suuma e arɗo on e buyi ha joni anda ko woni nafa pour wotugol wotangol national assembly election e photo ɗo ni komin wonɗo nder saare photo to sa daari police station on hay goto fayida ala ɗo IC officers ɗin fof no jooɗi golle ɗen ala yaade min landi ka tan woɓɓe ari no wooti no subaka kono sa daari time on wattu ɗo ni ko hay wattuji sappo e ɗiɗi yonani kono hay goto ala ko police station photo to ɗo so miɗen iwa ɗo min yahat garawol min wi garawol min yahat tumannage min wi tumanna inchallah min yettono base kadi pour min andina on ko hono woni yawtude nder URR o pari region
jarama boy Alaji AF Jallow, our regional correspondent there in Basse, touring the region, just to find out the voter turnout there. He's currently in Fatoto, and from Fatoto, he will go to Garawal, and from Garawal, and then he will go to the Tumana constituency and back to Basse. Just, Mr. Mboch, before we went to Alaji, we were talking about the results in Janjambure, and I was telling you actually NPP won in Janjambure in the last presidential election. NPP got 657 votes, while the UDP got 454 votes in Janjambure. And in this parliamentary election, we're having only two parties contesting, the NPP, UDP. The other two are independent candidates. That's it. But it will be interesting to see how it play out, because in 2017 was the UDP. UDP won Janjambure, so we'll see how it goes this time. So only two candidates. Yes, why not? It's always the first one that comes along. It's not much. I'm not sure that it's one of those what they call weather vane constituencies. It will tell you where the rest will go. I'm not sure about that, but we'll see how things go there. Whether they can retain it, whether UDP can retain it because they won in 2017, they won it, yeah. Or NPP will come and wrestle it from them. It will be interesting to see there. It will be interesting to see how things. And now let's look at. And earlier you were talking about GDC as well, and the fact that exactly, yes, you're right. Yes, not even a single woman. A single woman, quite interesting. One would have thought that perhaps they would
play the tokenism game, bring at least one or two. But for them, unashamedly, zero. Is it that they do not have that many female membership? Not women with quality and competence to be given a chance, as it were, to run? It's quite curious to know.
Yeah, it's interesting to see 26 candidates. I mean, no women in that list. I find it so interesting. But then, that's the decision of the party. They decide how many candidates they put up and who they put up. And let's now look at Upper Fuladu West constituency. Sana Jawara is not coming back. Like I said, he's been replaced by Numukunda Akanyi on the UDP. We have in NPP. NPP as well is putting up a candidate there. Bakari Kora, we have GDC, Ismaila Cham, and Yerambalo, NUP, and the other two, that's Amadou Jallo and Usman Nimalan, independent candidates. Upper Fuladu West constituency is going to be an interesting one as well.
Yep, that
GDC,
is it.
NPP, UDP, National Unity Party.
That's it, a UDP seat, isn't it, really? Even though Sana has gone, Jawara has gone, but still a UDP seat. Would they be able to retain it or would they lose it? This is really what the question is. And for us now, it's difficult to judge because we really do not know what's the strength of the NPP, really.
Exactly, at this moment. but in the last December election, that's the last presidential election, we saw the NPP won in that particular constituency. NPP got 13,264, UDP 3,890, Independent SFL 449, NUP 337, GDC 2,992, PDOS 490. NPP won in Upper Fuladu West constituency.
But this is what we're talking
about.
But
like you always say, I mean, the president election and parliamentary is different. But I mean, I understand my colleague Ansumana Esonyasi is back on the line. He is now moved from Nema Kungu to Kunkujang. I mean, so if you can hear me, how is the voter turnout in Kunkujang?
Yes, Ali, I can hear you. The turnout here is not bad compared to the previous stations we visited. So far, I have also been informed that it was in fact much better earlier, but people are coming in. They are coming in. Women are coming in, and also I saw here the incumbent for Olindum constituency. As you are aware, this is under Olindum constituency. So I'm going to also engage the presiding officer here. After which we also try to engage some of the voters and hopefully the incumbent candidate as well, who is here to observe how the process is going. So thank you for agreeing to speak to us. Your name?
I'm Suleiman Kamara, presiding officer, stream 1, Kunkujang Kete Abandaba.
How many streams do you have here?
We have 6 streams.
And how has the turnout been like since morning?
Well, the turnout is not that good as compared to the presidential election.
And people are coming?
Yeah, people are coming in bits and pieces. Yeah, we hope that, before the end of the day, many people will turn out to come and cast their votes.
You haven't had any challenges, any hitches here and there?
No, not at all. As at now, we don't have any problem as at now. Yeah, everything is going smooth.
You've raised the issue of low voter turnout. It's a concern. We visited several polling stations, and it seems to be the same trend. If you had a message for people watching this now, what would it be?
Well, I will advise people to always come out to come and vote. Voting is a civic duty, it's a national duty, so it's incumbent on us as citizens of the country to come out and take part in the political process of our country. Yeah.
Do you have any idea how many registered voters are to vote at this particular polling station?
No, I wouldn't know as at now. Yeah.
But we appreciate your time. Thank you for
Thank you so much. I'm grateful.
And Sumana, I know it's possible.
As you've heard from the presiding officer here, there are 6 streams, and he is the presiding officer to one of those streams. People are coming out really. But I did mention earlier that we also have here the incumbent, Honorable Abdullah Sise, who is the incumbent for Olino constituency. Honorable, how has it been so far? You're going around to observe the process.
Thank you, Eso. We have started going around to all the polling centers. What we have seen is low turnout of people coming to vote. That is across every polling station we've been to, from Willingara, Sinchu Balia, and Sinchu Sori, coming down to Kunkujang. And we'll be proceeding to Sinthiou Alaji and see exactly what is happening there as well. But the turnout is very poor as of now.
So far, are you satisfied with the process?
Yeah, I have been in every center to check the arrangement of the drums, as well as the lighting system in the booth. I'm satisfied with those things for now. I'm satisfied with the processes. So,
you mentioned low voter turnout. It's a concern. We visited several polling stations. Even within your constituency, this is the third one we've visited. What message do you have, especially for residents, people that live within your constituency?
Well, I just wanted to tell them that they need to understand the importance of legislative elections. Parliamentary is important, even more important than the presidential. And I think people need to come out to vote for their mouthpiece to represent them in the House of Parliament. The Gambia has a democracy now, and then voting for your candidate to be a representative for you is important. I mean, I don't expect people to sit down at home, letting people to decide their fate. Let them come out and vote for their choice of candidate to represent them in the House of Parliament. So.
In Mandinka quickly, ngaje ifindita ibe tamantamola constituency kono. Mune wasabu.
Le yakan do malen pour ka jubero ke ku kol bitaka nyame bawo bi ko te fayoti na kenya nyin ko ngaje ko biladol bi mol la fintu ma wara baake na carte fay modol bi ma kum ma yandi pour que na député ya carte fayola bari bitingo abe wala nyama 2017 fana ngani sifa jere afela manifesta ko tan kenyi sain ko tan bari amanka kuti melan ko nyata banko kan ngaji ko mol nyanta fintila nyamale pour que carte fay isaje ko be momen tombon na se ke ila mouthpiece ti olami men be kele la kilaria moti House of Parliament nyin kono isa tombonno wita overwhelming majority wala kuti men ko mayata
be nyin yayo men na fanan kataka karte fay dulal jibe fanan for you are satisfied with process nyin kataka bidaka nyame for ku fanan jerme yana ko maybe amandie
for now mom fe jefalo men ko ko bawo ndara dulal mento nga jubero ke arrangement so le drum so be lori nyamen in alphabetical order lighting system nyim fanan ngo fanan jibe kono to but okay, everything is fine. Fengo be anyamale, ngan satisfied the process ni bitaka nyamen na agentol mang any complaint in the mayalan ko say IEC consult no menna. As of now, come be satisfied in bakela.
Molla finti balia fana.
Ha molla finti balia dembe afole be dan la pour finti. Nyimun na bankolti akumata bake pour ngana tombondiroke. Tombondiro dum étable la mo tambuli ko ye mo tombon état si député bongoto. Ngamen jiko wala nyindiko niko all in constituency. Mo wiltal lulube daminto at least mo wiltan nan nim fenyanta kartofo le kaaji ko ye mo tombo memita sile député bongoto nim fota wala c'est mo tombo no with a low voter turnout me yalon at least 3000 votes ay mo tombo o mo be represent House of Parliament nyinkono so ngaji ko soto ko janning 5 o'clock be mo be dan la pour finti anyama ena ye karto fay ise men tombo ya tombo eta si député bongoto
Honorable Abdoulaye Cissé gis nañ yaangi gëna di wor waye ma laaj la rek ñëk naka nga gisé election
waaw sant yàlla fu mu ne nii ñu ngi dem round dem nañ si about 4 centres liñ fa jot a gis doyut ñu bu baax parce que nit ñi génnuñ pour sandi karta waaye nag si biir loolu nag ndànk nit ñaa ngi ñëw process bi nga xam ne moo nekk di am tamit dem nañ seetu nañ ko liñ si jot a gis daal doy nañu maanaam mooy niñ taxawalee suñ drone si ak lighting système bi si biir loolu moom doy nañu alhamdulilah.
wax nga nit ñi seen ñàkk a génn ñun dem nañ Serekunda Sukuta Neema Wellingara Kunkujang dem nañ ay barab yu bari waaye tamit foofu nit ñi génnuñ noonu tey soo amoon loo doon ñaax waa Olinum constituency lu moo nekk si wàllum génn.
li ma wax rek mooy fuñ toll nii Olinum constituency am na 50,000 plus vote tey bu ñu waroon a toog fii pour tànn député ku ñoo demal si pencum ndawi réew mi bëgg nañoo gis ne at least ñeent fukki junne yoo xam ne taxaw nañ pour sànni karta pour ñu tànn ki nga xam ne moo leen demal si pencum ndawi réew mi kon nag li ma ñaan waa Olinum mooy ñu génn ñu sànni karta bi su ko defee ku ñoo tànn mu nekk ku leen doy te mu fekk ne majorité ñoo ko taana mu dem mu nekkal leen si pencum ndawi réew mi loolu moo am solo fu mu ne nii toog si kër bi gis ne yow amuloo interest pour parliamentary election parce que sànni nga président ba pare loolu foog naa loolu yëfi réeroo la nit ñi dañ war a génn ñu sànni karta pour ñu tànn député ki nga xam ne mooy nekk seen diggante ak nguur gi liggéey bi nga xam ne loolu la war a def mu mun koo def ngeen ànd ak moom ngeen def liggéey boobu noonu waaw.
jërëjëf honorable thank you Aliou you've heard from the incumbent for Olinum constituency. Earlier, we also did engage the presiding officer. I mean, the message, has been the same almost across all the polling stations we visited. I mean, the low voter turnout is a major concern. However, that aside, the process has been going smoothly. There has not been any complaints reported so far. And, I was informed earlier that, the turnout was much better in the morning. I mean, earlier in the morning.
Thank you very much, Ansumana Esonyasi, my colleague there at Kunkujang Ketea at the moment, touring some of the polling stations there, and earlier on, you had him talk to Abdullahi Sese, who is contesting on the NPP and is the incumbent sitting MP seeking re-election. Actually, in 2017, Alaji was Abdullahi Sese was elected with 28% of the vote, representing 3,961 in that particular election. And before Abdullah, you had Ansman also talk to the presiding officer there, who is also talking about the issue of the low voter turnout. Mr. Mboj, it seems this low voter turnout is becoming a concern now. Time is going. We're almost approaching midday.
Yes, I think now we've got a representative sample of the level of turnout around the country. It's not, well, I think we can say one thing with certainty. It is not going to be even close to the 90% we had in the presidential. That much. We know, of course, now the next question, at least for analysts, for all of us, I mean, we knew there was a pattern that generally in National Assembly elections, the turnout has been low. We've seen it in past elections. So now, we may suspend judgment for a while. We really do not know how low it will be. If it reflects, for instance, what happened in 2017, of course, we'll still ask questions, but if it goes below a certain threshold, then we know that there is a serious disconnect between the political parties and these political candidates, these politicos, and their electorate. So that judgment we really cannot tell now. But how much now, I was just beginning to wonder, how much is this playing into this? The fact that the draft constitution, everybody was looking for voter rate, was defeated by the National Assembly member. How much has that contributed to the feeling of, oh, these people, they are not in there for us? So for one to just lose interest, how much of that is playing into this? So now you begin to see some of the reasons why people become cynical and they do not think that one would always make a calculation of how do I economize my time? For many people, going to vote, that's not going to change my life in any way. It just simply means they're putting somebody else in an office where he will just take care of himself. We all heard about the $54 million loan. How much damage has that done to the reputation? But this is really what the price to pay. When you are in office, for all these political offices, when you are in office, what you do affects people out there. How much is this an indictment of so far the political operators, what's been going on, be it government, be it parties, how much of it is directly from that? So we have a lot of soul searching to do, it seems, but we do not know quite yet the extent of the damage, the extent of the distrust, the extent of the apathy. And that would allow us maybe to make certain correlations, to piece out certain correlations.
If you look at the turnout, like you said, it'll be too early to make a judgment. I mean, we don't know what's going to be the voter turnout at the end of the day. But I mean, in the event that we have that low turnout, will that have any impact on the parliament?
Or certainly, for one, I mean, sort of legitimacy. You know, wherever you have low turnout, questions of legitimacy will come into it. But with us, our electoral system, first past the post, is not a 50+1. Well, we just have to accept it and kind of use it.
Exactly. Mr. Mboj, I understand now our correspondent in the North Bank region, Don Williams, is also on the line now. Don, welcome to the program. Where exactly are you in the North Bank region, and how is the voter turn out there?
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good day, Aliu. The voter turnout right now, I'm in Farafeni, and I just left the Mauritania Primary School, where the people have, it's a voting center. And then we are just going to send some of the footages. But right now, as I'm speaking to you at this administrative area in Kerewan, it consists of 33 candidates Okay, but in Farafennia at the Ilyasa constituency, it's going on very smoothly. There is no cause to complain. The voter turnout there is very poor, very poor. They are streaming, voters are streaming in slowly, and the complaint about the poor turnout is due to the fasting people are experiencing and also the heat. That's why, but we are looking up that by the day, as the day go by, the turnout will be improved. But so far, there is no cause to complain. I only got information about that there was some problem, which is at Lower Badibo. But upon getting to the one of the IEC electoral officials, Mr. Ibrahim Ajata, he said not with his knowledge, because as far as he's concerned, he's the one who oversees all that area, and voting was going on smoothly. There was no cause to complain as of now, Alio.
And have you been able to talk to some of the agents of the candidates? What have they been telling you, if you were able to talk to any one of them?
Yes, of course. I spoke with one of the candidates, an independent candidate, Alaji Aidara, who shows some sign of optimistic that he's going to be the winner, and he also complained about the turnout, because that's what he said. He said that's the only fear he has, but he's sure that he's going to win the election here. That is what he said. But I know that will be a very tough race. It's going to be a very tough race, because he's very new in the system. Alaji is a young gentleman who have the feeling that he is going to win. But I'm yet to speak to the Sankundafa, which is also representing the NPP and the incumbent Debu K. Kamara. But from here, I'll be going to their area in their constituency so that I will be able to talk to them.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Don Williams, our regional correspondent in North Bank region, where giving us the updates from Farafennia in the Ilyasa constituency. Well, in Ilyasa, we have three candidates. We have Sankun Damfa of National People's Party. We have Dembo K.M. Kamara, UDP, who is sitting MP seeking re-election. And we have Alhaji Hydra, and in the independent candidate. And in the Ilyasa constituency, we have 22,448 registered voters. But like you have heard from Don, I mean, the turnout there is equally not as good as we saw in the last presidential election. Bani ngol melbe QTV jibe kan na okke batala wala mo Don Williams at lebe sirin QTV Farafennia North Bank region ko ma da fa nyamen to kan to internet abe Farafennia le barje fanan fa nyamen mol man trafinti kan a nyama pour karaka carte o fay mbokki ngami ina siran QTV koku mo ne kon Don Williams mo ne ka son taskat xibar ko ñu togal fala ca Farafennia ca North Bank region. Comme ni mu ko waxee rek foofu tam def mel ni yenn place yi nit yi nekkuñ te génn comme ni ñu war a génne pour génn sànni seen carte musidɗo am ko on woni Don Williams kanko woni ƴetto hibaaru jami wonani men to Farafennia North Bank region comme no nani o haalirni rek toon kadi yimɓe ɓe yalta no bete pour ɓe peeɗo carte tawon. So yes, Mr. Mboch, Don Williams, they are giving us the latest from Ilyasa constituency in the North Bank region. Everywhere low turnout.
Yeah, the same story. Maybe now it will be interesting perhaps for our reporters to go and seek out those who refuse to go and vote, to talk to them, ask them why.
Wow. If they can get one or two.
One or two.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's some side, they wouldn't vote. It will be interesting to know. Because we should be careful how we judge this. Some of us might think that all these people are sort of abdicating their civic duty and all the rest of it. But again, sometimes refusing to go and vote is a political act. It's a judgment on the quality that is out there. It will not make any difference. So I will sit down and let you know that whatever you think that you're doing, I'm not impressed, as it were. So it is not always a failure of civic duty. Rather, actually, it's a political protestation. That there's nothing going on there. I'm not impressed. It is really incumbent, as it were, on the politicians to try to kindle interest. I wonder what the political parties, what they've been doing. It seems they couldn't get their people to come out and vote. So what is going on here? Of course, we do not know yet for certain what the turnout percentage would be, but we are getting a fairly good idea, the indication that it will be low, and then everybody will begin to ask ourselves questions. Because remember, recently, Afrobarometer, I think it's important that we bring in the Afrobarometer survey recently, asking people about how government is tackling corruption and all the things. And people were just, you can see the disenchantment. People are just disaffected with everything that's going on. All of these things play on people's minds when it comes to go and vote. They'll say, what's the point? All these people are so corrupt. These people are so bad. These people are so this.
And sometimes, some of these claims made by people, is it lack of understanding of what the issues are, or because of we have this misinformation and disinformation?
All of these things are perceptions.
Okay.
These are our perceptions. But we don't form our perceptions in a vacuum. There is something that we can see. We may have some misunderstandings here and there, but there's something else external to us that we can see. I mean, if we had just maybe a few people believing in something, you say, okay, these people are misguided. But when the numbers are big, then I must look. I just cannot keep on going on saying that, oh, these people are misguided and the number is huge. You mean there's that collective madness? I'm sorry, I'm not, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that. So there is a responsibility on those who have chosen to go into politics to restore our trust in politics. This is really what their responsibility is. It is no good trying to exhort people, go and vote, this is your civil liberty, this is your that. People are more rational than we think. If I don't see any advantage for me, I wouldn't do it. It's an economy of time. I'm not going to waste my time.
But in the event that you don't want to go and vote, perhaps because you're not happy with the way things are going, then certainly you have no voice, or you have no rights to criticize whatever happened in Parliament then.
They are telling you that even if I go and vote, there will be no voice.
Okay, I'll come back to you. I understand our correspondent Al-Hassan Ba in Mansa, Congo Lower River region is also on the line. Al-Hassan, where in LRR are you at the moment, and how is the voter turnout there?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon now, Ali. I am right out in Jara Pakarinding. Pakarinding is not far from Mansa, Congo.
In
but
Jara
actually,
West.
The turnout of the voters is too low, looking at compared to the presidential election. And the other thing is, one thing I found out, so much difference is, in Sankuya, where Tagali Fofana, one of the aspirant UDP candidates, people came out in numbers in that village. A large number of people turned out and voting. The polling stations are full. And the NPP candidate in Sare Musa, the entire two of these polling stations are just filled with people queuing. But compared to other communities that bit where actually I think there are no candidates, you have a very low turnout of people. And engaged the IEC official, the IEC regional coordinator or desk officer, who said actually he thinks because of the Ramadan and maybe because people want to wait for the last minute to turn up to come and cast their vote, maybe that is one of the reasons why people are not out yet to vote. But you know, around here it's extremely hot also. The temperatures are too high. It's unbearable. And if the trend continues, I don't think people come out and cast their ballots, actually. But actually the impression is it's calm. People are queuing as normal, but you have seen more old women, like moderate women, not young women and young people coming out like the presidential election to vote. That is what is the current situation in LRR.
Kindly summarize what you have just said in the local languages, in Fula, Mandinka, and Wolof.
Badingol na bila kan don kan kan me jara pakalinding carte fay lajinto ñina dum na jela ko ñin carte fay wala anin ñaaj nin presidential carte fay jibe e bajela ko ñina tante mol mi tin dabere bakele man fiya ko president carte fay ñi ni na baro je tan ndalale ndara sam kele ka jibe UDP la candidate ñi bedamento mo jama le finde ka bare fonata on carte fay mo jama le finde jema fon sankuya anin Sare Musa me yalon ko NPP la candidate ya carte fay jelto wolbe mol finde le bare soma le yaji be Musa wali fon carte fay danaka moti die molte mol man trasiari di ni anin carte president carte fay jibe hapunyu siata bakele bare ning ay ti manam la keba di yam miam kabe tan abe nani tundo ka nyak ni ka jada ma ko niaji mo man fita tekeno illa fati pat le funyato fuyi finti bare niaji be fana sunkaro fana nan kono be sunkaro fana kono te ni wato kono kando menyen tundo ka ngasimbo wara batale kon ngamira mo nyata sani ka te fay bare san senteng abe ta fana taro kanam mo bitan kila ka te fay ñoo sonka manke no sala manke ni carte fay dula darda men to wala be kiri jam muside so ngeta to andi ngolon ko fiti do ngeta de ilan jondi ngo kongol e yurgol yurm takalinding andi no pakal ni ari ko peut-être ko don donc yimbe bu don duda parce que ben sandari pour presidential election ko yimbe yalti ko odo election be bu yalta non on presidential election sandari non mi sankuya ko UDP candidate mabbe won on kajali fofu na yimbe ton me yalti mo yaw bay may haala ko bay ko bari candidate sare Moussa ko Ali Balde woti donc ko tarbi NPP be buyal ono sadari wono soma police to no la post be buyala ton te asika yimbe ala ide sarne men da ko wali no yimbe yaltale kono melandi kadi wono do IEC ngoni sandari no wonde harine fala habbade kono sandari kadi ganu wuli ha feno wuli ha ko suma wona ko yimbe yalti ko zegari arew ndo yimbe dulal fes ko wono presidential election misiki e fridna ndo kadi honno waawi wonde ɓe waɗa presidential election presidential e parliamentary election fof nde wotede misiki hay ko ɗum ɓurata e waɗgol kala feere misiki te kadi no yaade jaam aliou no élection no yaade jaam ala kay sonkede ala ɓeyde ma kala ado woota so woti a gayni o mo yaaka galle police ɓe no ɗo international observers ndaara en yuɓe ECOWAS fof mi yiɓe toon e domestic observers
in Wolof
mbokk yi su fekkee ne déglu rek fàttali Aliou tamit maa ngi laa fàttali ne maa ngi yónni yeneen vidéo dinañ ñëw léegi-léegi fi nga xam ne nii jóg naa dem ci dëkk yi seet élection ne soo seetee tey Pakali laa ne Pakali ni nag seen police la nit ñi bëri foofu noonu bu ma demee Sankuye nag nga xam ne ni Kajaali foofu la dëkk moom mooy NP bi incumbent bi fu mu sànnee carte ñooñu génn dëkk bu bëri yow génn pour sànni carte soo demee bu ma demee tamit Sare Moussa bi nga xam ne nii Aliou Balde moo fa taxaw ñu bëri tamit laa fa fekk ñu nga xam ne ni ñu ngi taxaw si line bi ñu ngi vote ñu ngi sànni seen carte waaye soo ñëwee si Sooma ak yeneen dëkk yi nga xam ne nii amuñ candidate wala taxawaluñ candidate wala candidate jógee foofu noonu seen génn bi dëgg doyu daal tuuti la ñu ñëw doole ñoo génn pour sànni seen carte soo seetlee tamit sax Sooma dem naa Sooma angal fu dafa nga xam ne ni foofu la mu daa sànnee ëpp nañ junni nit yi nga xam ne ni ñoo fa bindu pour sànni carte waaye soo fa demee doo gis kenn ku ñëw rek def lu taxaw sax dafay ñëw rek sànni carte dem soo si jamono presidential election bi nit dafa feesoon tep dafa feesoon ba waxtu bi nit ñi fa fees tep di sànni carte
jërëjëf Al Hassan Bah, regional correspondent in the Lower River region, where giving us update from Pakalending, where he is currently, and according to him, the voter turnout where Mr. Mbuch isn't good. I mean, I think there are only two places. There's Sankuya, where the incumbent, Kajali Fofana of UDP, has just cast his vote. There's a good turnout there. And also where the NPP candidate is, Aliou Balde in Sare Moussa, where also the turnout is good. But aside from these places, I mean, the remaining places, people are not coming out.
That's it, and we really cannot judge yet what is a good turnout or not. I may go at a particular time and I see a long queue, but maybe before that we had gone for a long time. It wasn't like that. And what's going to happen afterwards? So the context here is not there. We sort of miss the context. So we really do not know what is a good turnout, even though they've used it. And earlier on somebody said impressive turnout. We really cannot judge it yet. I mean, Aliou, one of the interviewees where earlier on said people were coming in bits and pieces. I imagine that perhaps first the hand will come in, and then afterwards will be joined by the legs, and then other parts of your body. I think it's really the whole voting, the whole turnout is really in bits and pieces, it seems. Once we get a clearer picture, of course, we'll have to ask all the relevant questions. And apart from the fact that we've been seeing these patterns in the past, that there will be a low turnout in National Assembly elections, is there a substantial change in this one? How far below would it go? So there are still quite a good number of question marks that we cannot answer yet. But to some extent, this is a bit worrying.
All right. I'll come back to you. Our reporter, Omar P. Jallo, is also on the line from Nyamina in the Central River region. Omar, if you can hear me, where in Nyamina exactly are you at the moment? And how is it turnout there? Is it any different from
Thank you very much, Aliu. Like you said, I am right here at Nyamina Sabang, where the two of the contesting candidates for the Nyamina West constituency are supposed to cast their votes, which is NPP Birom JSO and GDC Zero Jallo. Both candidates have just casted their votes, and I actually have been informed that the turnout has been very impressive. People have been turning up in their large numbers since 7 a.m. to cast their votes. And interestingly, I think something is unique for the Nyamina West, which is it is the only constituency, as far as I know, that two people are actually contesting from the same home, which is the independent candidate, Abdul Aziz Sow and Birom JSO. They are all from the same compound, and they are both contesting. Interestingly, this is the first time in the history of the Gambia we are hearing or seeing something like that happening. And we are also reliably informed that the Nyamina West has over 5,000 registered voters who are supposed to cast their vote in about 11 polling stations. And then I visited about 5 to 6 polling stations so far, and I've been informed the turnout has been impressive, and they are actually both candidates that I spoke to are hopeful that things will go the right way. But as far as I know, actually, the turnout, as I have witnessed since morning, actually the turnout has been very impressive, and we look forward to a very peaceful election. I spoke to the presiding officers in the polling stations that I visited, and they both said, both of the two that I spoke to expressed a satisfaction with the way the voting has been going on since morning. And so far, they are impressed, and everything is okay.
Well, like you said, Umar, in Nyamina West constituency, we have 5,085 registered voters. And in this particular constituency, we have 6 candidates. You said Yero Jallo of GDC, Birom JSO of NPP. We have Usman D. Jallo of National Unity Party, Kemesen Sane, Kek Sane of PDIS Party, Basiru Sise of UDP, and Abdul Aziz Sow of independent candidate. Aside from the turnout, how is the process going on, security-wise?
So far, the process has been going smoothly. Since morning, I've been interacting. I've been watching the interaction so far. There has not been any hitches. I've also had an interview with 2 of the presiding officers that the polling station that I visited, and they did say they are satisfied so far with the process. And if you know the dynamics of the Nyamina West election, since the Nyaminas were demarcated into 3 districts, because it will be interesting for viewers to also know, Nyamina used to be a single Nyamina. It was after the 1994 takeover that the Nyaminas were demarcated into 3 Nyaminas. I am speaking from Nyamina West, and that is where you have the 6 candidates that you just mentioned. And interestingly, since Nyamina West came into being, the first National Assembly was an independent candidate who was Lamin Walam Batisamba Jallo, who won the 1997 National Assembly election. Then later on, he was followed by Idrissa Samba Salah, who won the 2002 parliamentary election. And then later on, you have Lamin Jarama, who sat for 2 terms. Then in 2017, Ademba Sow of GDC actually came in. And then Ademba could not, unfortunately, did not complete his term. He died, and then Birom JSO was elected in a by-election, and he's been the National Assembly, City National Assembly member for Nyamina West since then until today, until let's say until the 13th, when because the 14th will be, I understand, will be the swearing in ceremony for the sixth legislature.
Yes, Umar.
Yeah, have been the national assemblies that have started for Nyamina since the Nyamina West was came into being.
Yes, you talk about the demarcation of Nyamina. Like now you have three Nyamina, you have Nyamina West, Nyamina East, and Nyamina Dangogo constituencies. Now, just summarize what you were saying in English in the local languages. Where in Nyamina are you exactly?
Yo ala baraka bake mbadi ngon men benjibe kan saenten QTV mpelenting ale Nyamina Sambang comme al yamo nga fo tuba kan to nyami kadri somanda molbe fintika nga nyama kata la kartel fay akamunta mol kana man soto jan son kaman soto nga kumpa boro ke nyami sofa molbe fintika nyama moldu natani sembola pour kale ila kartel fay ndung nga ñinin karaoke dulal to taring nga kibarol men soto je wala ñinti ko polbe be taka nyama comme ni me nyamina la tariko lo nyamina ni ko nyamina mu banko kilinet nu bari inata ni nyamina tala nyamina sabato kabri ya jame banko ta 1994 anata nyamina ñin sala ka ke banko sabati men mu nyamina is nyamina west ani nyamina danko ko ndum be diamu kan nyamina west le sainten be jeleng jeedum mo worole lota men mu yoro jalo ki GDC birom JSO NPP Abdulaziz Sow independent Kemeteng Sane PDOIS Usman Diallo NUP and Basiru Sise UDP ñelle be ñoo sabakan Nyamina West sirangola ñim temboto andong Nyamina West ñaajibe mo wuli lul min seng wolle register photo jang andong police station altar fo police station tang so far nga kibarol men kafu wala ñinti ko Nyamina de pol beta kan jang nyama tana man ko jang andum mol fintita nyama ko pour kanela carte o fay andum Nyamina niajibe kadri Nyamina talata banku sabati même folo keta Nyamina West la député oti wala keta Lamine wala Mbacke Samba Dialloti wodum keta independent oti non kabriate gagnata 1997 carte fayola député carte fayola gagnata a keta independent oti kabriate botaje 2002 Idrissa Samba Sala nata ke moti men gagnata wodum lota PRC ticket la duate fanan atasa je sanjilulu kabia fanan botaje Lamine Diadama wala nata ka taraje sanjitang wodum fan o fan benung loring APRC to yala kabri wo botaje 2017 election o dem so mem lota no GDC wo fanan nata gagné Nyamina West Banko kanjang wodum ala nata ani bio doya amanna ala tam kon complete wala nata ba election ni sabunu serum ntafo serum wala ba election ni sabunu so birom ke so nata ke moti kany Nyamina West Banko kanjang pour ka tamni labam bidum mol woro wolle be sirango ni kam pour ka marañu sirango la foteke sanjul benala mutibbe hetto to be laro be QTV o waktu do minen on gonani Nyamina West no kuntinane son ni kala angale tan do wondo Nyamina West non gili subaka minen jilo e police station je yaade kono no min kuntitori ni ina wayno carte be jarano hawri yimbe be funtiri dole fi perade carte mabbe kono non hay tanane heba ken tonka wadani hay hunde wadani hen kono sa laari Nyamina noon oɗo wonɗo ko leydi ndi ganduɗa fayda ko hunde wadde nde gay ko hunde nde ganduɗa fayda wawi feera waɗe kaare ka leydi Gambia ɓayda ɗo wonɗo ko Nyamina ko kamɓe tan woni leydi ndi ganduɗa yimɓe ɗiɗo immorɓe galle goto ɓe mbawi darade ɓe poɗodirde oɗo siram ɗum ɗon noon wona tan kamɓe fof koɓe ɓiɓɓe leydi ɓe dañi ɓe heeɓi on ra e fiɗɗaɓɓude leydi ndi kono ɗo wonɗo ko ɓen ɗon yimɓe jeego woni e poɗodirɓe on ɗon siram Nyamina West ɗum woni Yero Diallo mo ganduɗa kanko darani parti GDC Birom JSO mo ganduɗa kanko darani NPP Kemeteng Sane mo ganduɗa kanko dari inde PDOIS Abdulaziz Sow kanko mo ganduɗa kanko darani independent on ɗon mo ganduɗa ko kanko woni Ousmane Diallo dariɗo NUP on ɗo biyeteɗo Basiru Sise kanko noon darati United Democratic Party ko ɓen ɗon goni fonodire te noon sa laari Nyamina West ne ko leydi ndi ganduɗa ko leydi carte ko woni ko ɗo yeehi ha ko guluuje jowi pawɗe ko ɗum ɗon woni kattal ko woni nder leydi Nyamina West ete noon sa laari Nyamina ne gulindi ko leydi wotiri Nyamina wonno kono gili on ɗon kudeta wanno 1994 yaajamme wawino feccodiro leydi Nyamina waɗde leyɗe tati ɗum ɗon woni Nyamina West Nyamina East Nyamina West Nyamina East e Nyamina Dankunko min noon o leɓanmi ɗo woni Nyamina West ko ɗon woni ɓeɗo yimɓe jiigo ɗo ɓe ɗaɓɓata ɗen poɗodirta on ɗon siran député ɓe eɗo wonɗo noon nomin kumpidore ni laamin walam samba bacci Samba Diallo kanko woni député folo e ñamina West Gili ñaminaji ɗi pecca waɗa tati e ɓe on ɗon iwi ɗon kanko gagninoɗen ɗon carte peranoɗe e 1997 e nde o iwi ɗon ko on ɗon biyeteɗo lewmoni Idrissa Samba Sall ko on ɗon ne wawno gagné ɗen ɗon carte député ɓe 2022 e guili on ɗon ne laamin Samba Idrissa Samba Sall ne iwi tuuta nan ɗum woni Stevin on ɗon ne on ɗon mo ganduɗa wiide Lamin Dianama ko on ɗon ne ko kanko noon ko FDRC o gagnatno leydi ñamina ndi te o woni ɗon député ko fottat duuɓi sappo e ɓe on ɗon iwi noon 2017 e on ɗon biyeteɗo honorable Demba Sow mo ganduɗa e on ɗon noon e ɗo wonɗo Allah yurmi yaafo Allah on woni mo ganduɗa o ardima e ɗo wonɗo ko ɗum ɗon sabno ha ñamina wawi hebde on ɗon by élection mo ganduɗa waɗanoma rowani e te ko on Biram JS mo ganduɗa ko MPP o daranino ko on ɗon wawno gagnade on ɗon by élection e ko kanko hempinno on ɗon tab mo ganduɗa ko Demba honorable Demba Sow fuɗɗinowo e joni ko hande tigi ɓe gafti tigi ɓen ɗon yimɓe jeego fiɓe poɗodirde on ɗon siranɗa leydi ñamina ga jarama.
Thank you very much, Omar P. Jallo, my colleague there in Nyamina West constituency in the Central River region. Like you have heard from Omar P. Jallo talking about constituencies that were demarcated. Mr. Mboch, I mean, Combo North used to be the powerhouse of government politics, was also demarcated. We have Combo Central, Combo Central. We have Serekunda East and Serekunda Central. We are all demarcated, and because of that, we've seen Combo North now was demarcated into what we now have Sana Mente constituency, the old Yundum and Busumbala constituency. Combo Central then became what we now have Brikama North and Brikama South constituency. Serekunda East, where the current leader of the APRC, Fabaga Tomojata, used to be the National Assembly member for that constituency. Serekunda East now become Talindeng Kunjang constituency and Latikunda Sabiji constituency. And Serekunda Central is now what we now have Serekunda constituency and Bunukakunda constituency. Quite interesting there. I mean, like you have heard from Omar P. Jallo, it seems it is quite different in Nyamina West. The turnout is much more better according to our correspondent there.
That's it. With a bit of a proviso, we still haven't got the bigger picture. That's it with these demarcations. It makes you wonder, what was the rationale for making these demarcations? I'm just looking at Nyamina here. Nyamina West, 5,000 registered voters. Yeah. Nyamina East, 13,000 registered voters. Yeah. Nyamina Dankunku, 3,000. Makes you wonder, what was the rationale? For these things? It smells very much like gerrymandering. Gerrymandering. So this is the key. That was why we know that in the new constitution we sort of really wanted to revisit these constituency boundaries and bring some sense into it in many ways. Can you imagine 53,000 in one constituency and the other one less than 2,000? And yet equal voice, 111 votes in the National Assembly. Oh, that's grotesque. So we need to revisit. We need to revisit these things. We all know that because now we are living with these absurdities. I'm here. And I like Nyamina West. The fact that two people, the two souls from the same family, same compound and all of that. Yeah. Absolutely. This is really what democracy is about. Even my child or my parents, we can have different political views. It doesn't mean that we are enemies. We are merely opponents. So with this election, they could be on different sides. I was just telling somebody today, I said, oh, come Korite, they'll be sitting together, maybe having their, celebrating together and the like, because we were hearing from some social media people say, oh, their family, why should one go against the other and the like? I'm like, no, let's be mature. So that's a fantastic, if you like, example of how really democracy should work. It's not about because we are family. I will never vote for anybody because we are family, because you have a good program. So I will never personalize my politics. So this is a fantastic example for democracy. I love Nyamina West.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mboch. Viewers, you reminded you're still watching QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station, and we are broadcasting live from our studios here on Karaba Avenue here in the Gambia, West Africa. My name is Aliou Sise, and we are bringing you live coverage of the parliamentary election in the Gambia. Today, Gambians are heading to the polls to vote in a parliamentary election to elect the next legislature of the country. Actually, this election comes exactly 125 days since Gambians voted in a presidential election which showed the incumbent President Adama Barrow re-elected. But today, Gambians are voting for members of the National Assembly. We'll go for a short break and we'll be back soon.
QCell's Q prayer and Q Ramadan service. Bal kalamutandila la salwati lulola. Aning watu minebe sungodatila aning kate. Prayer key 331 prayer hakilo blandi la salwati lulola. Ramadan wala fast key 332 prayer hakilo blandi ibela sungodatila watu minna aning ibatela watu minna lungolung. QCell be dua lalie sunkari nema ringna. Ndolanga silo walang dolia bulanoma.
Your favorite QCell service has gotten bigger. eFunkanta. Now you can loan bigger credit amounts to make life easier for you. Loan $75 and $100 and pay later. Yes, you heard me right. Get credit loan from $10 to $100 using eFunkanta by dialing *393#. Anytime you run out of credit, whether you want to buy Q Power, browse the internet, make urgent calls, or send SMS. eFunkanta is the service for you. Dial *393# and choose the loan amount of your choice with no hassle. For more information, call our customer care on 111. QCell, Sunyabus, the pioneers of mobile loan service in the Gambia. We innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Are you looking for Islamic insurance? Visit or contact West Africa Takaful, Caraba Avenue branch.
You lift me up high, you spread my
Banjul branch. Brusubi branch. Brikama branch. We offer truly Islamic products whilst promoting transparency and fairness.
We at West Africa Takaful are wishing you a beloved nation, Ramadan Mubarak.
West Africa Takaful, truly Islamic.
It's happy time. Get 50% off all calls to any network. Enjoy calls every day to any network from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Is it too good to be true? QCell. We innovate, others follow.
QCell's Q prayer ak Q Ramadan service moo leen a fàttali watu juróomi julli ak watu bi ngeen a door ak dog seen or yónneel prayer si 331 pour nga xam watu juróomi julli yépp yónnee Ramadan bu dul loolu fast si 332 pour fàttali leen watu booy door ak dog sa or bés bu ne QCell di leen ñaanal weeri koori jàmm ñoo xaali yoon bi ñeneen toppa.
QCell's Q Prayer and Q Ramadan service reminds you of your 5 daily prayer times and the start and end times for your fast. Simply send prayer to 331 to be reminded of the 5 daily prayer times. Send Ramadan or fast to 332 to be notified of the start and iftar time of fasting on a daily basis. QCell wishes you all a blessed Ramadan. We innovate, others follow.
QCell's Q prayer kanyung e Q Ramadan service andintintama watu mo julata dat e joydem fow e watu mo fuɗɗotoɗa horugol e watu mo tajata nuldu prayer ka 331 fi anda watu mo julata dar e joydem fow nuldu Ramadan maɗum fast ka 332 andintintama watu mo fuɗɗotoɗa e watu mo tajata horugol mangol QCell no duwanoma sumaye wonduɗo e barki menen udditi lawol si woɓɓe jokki.
Are you looking for Islamic insurance? Visit or contact West Africa Takaful, Caraba Avenue branch.
You lift me up high, you spread my
Banjul branch. Brusubi branch. Brikama branch. We offer truly Islamic products whilst promoting transparency and fairness.
We at West Africa Takaful are wishing you a beloved nation Ramadan Mubarak.
West Africa Takaful.
The government of the Gambia, with support from World Bank, is introducing a government-initiated program called NAFA Program in support of the National Development Plan 2017 to 2021. The program will be implemented by the National Nutrition Agency (NANA) in collaboration with the Directorate of Social Welfare and the Department of Community Development. The NAFA program is a 3-year program which aims to build resilience among extreme poor households by providing cash transfers meant to support household needs, increase food availability and dietary diversification, and social behavioral change communication activities, and improve livelihoods in 20 districts in the Gambia. Beneficiaries will be enrolled in the program for a period of 18 months effective 2021 and will receive a payment of $3,000 every 2 months, preferably to be received by a woman. Beneficiaries will also be provided with the opportunities to learn more about early childhood development. ECD is a physical, cognitive, linguistic, psychological and social emotional development of a child from the prenatal stage up to the age of 6. A child's brain develops more quickly in the early years than any other time in a person's life, making it the most important phase of a person's life. Parents and caregivers need to feed and watch over the child, give the child affection, communicate and play with the child, and respond to the child's needs. Stimulating a child's mind in these early years will provide lifelong benefits for a child, including better performance in school and therefore better future earning potential. Early childhood development is the holistic development of the child, and it requires collective approach and parental dedication. Children should not be neglected by their parents, relatives, older siblings, other caregivers, and the community. It takes a nation to train a child. Report all forms of neglect that will hinder any child's development today with early child development centers, the Directorate of Social Welfare, mother support groups, or the police. Take the time to be a good parent to your child today. This information is brought to you by the National Nutrition Agency (NANA) under the Office of the Vice President and partners. For any grievances or complaint, please call the toll-free line on 1214 using any available network. NAFA, building household resilience.
Hello viewers, welcome back from that short break. You're still watching QTV. We're broadcasting live from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue. It is parliamentary election today here in the Gambia, and we're bringing you live coverage of the voting across the country. And I'm here with Modou Mbouch, and we are now joined by Modlamin Choi, who was in Banjul, where the president had earlier on cast his vote at the Makati Square in the Banjul Central constituency. And immediately after he cast his vote, he did spoke to the press, and Modlamin Choi is here to tell us what has the president been saying after he has cast his vote.
Thank you very much, Aliu. The president, after casting his vote, he spoke to the press, and he was asked about the election. And one of the key messages, or one of the key important points that he highlighted is the fact that it is a very important election. The National Assembly is a very important arm of the state, and given the role it plays in our democracy, the role it plays in the function and the state of affairs of our country, it is important for people to come out and vote. And he really emphasized on the significance of the election and why people should come out and cast their vote. The president also, one of the important messages that the president made was the fact
yes,
that
let's now go with the video where the president was talking. Take a listen.
Okay, you can stop here. Where he will go through the formalities.
Voting is only state media.
It's also state media.
You understand? But he's not having any identification.
I understand.
You understand? You cannot determine it.
That's okay.
So this is even the media, we arrange for them to stay. Abandon them all.
So the person will now go for the no, two guys sit down. Behind there, you come on, let's put it on. It's okay.
Thank you very much, Modu. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. I thank the press for all the support during the campaign, from the presidential to the National Assembly. We were waiting for this day, the electoral cycle. Now we are voting for National Assembly members. We are very hopeful that the MP have the majority. Looking at the presidential election, it is a very clear indication that we will have majority in the National Assembly. But I will seize this opportunity to thank the candidates who have participated in this election. It's unprecedented, the numbers we have for this election. If you look at the independent candidate alone, it's about 85 candidates. It is more than all candidates who were contesting in previous National Assembly elections. That is a clear indication that Gambia have moved on. Our democracy is moving. That means the field is level, and I think that is very good going forward, because it was a transition period. Now the transition is over. We have consolidated ourselves. We have built a strong foundation. Moving forward, it is very, very, very clear, and I will call on the Gambians to come out in their numbers as the way they did in the presidential election. This is as important as the presidential election. So we call on everybody to come out and vote. Vote peacefully. Go home and listen to the results. This is my advice, and we thank the Gambian people, definitely. Yeah, the turnout is low, but it's very early. I don't think we can confirm now that the turnout will be low. Maybe in the afternoon people will come out. It is during the first month, I think the first time, we are organizing elections during the Ramadan. And you know, the Sise Kundankas and the Walis, there are people that sometimes it will be difficult for them to come out, but we encourage all of them to come out and vote, definitely. Yeah, that's what we think. It might add value, but circumstances didn't allow me to campaign within the KMC and the West Coast, as we all said, because it's not normal to campaign during Ramadan. You know, in the evening, people are ready to go and cut fast, and after cutting fast, you know, the nafila and other things, so it's difficult. So it changed. That means they change it to a house-to-house campaign. It will be very difficult for president to be involved in a house-to-house campaign because of security and other things. But despite all that, I call on my people and I make a statement to advise the people to come out and vote for the NPP. This was the message. We think that message will also relate very well with the people.
That's the President of the Republic and leader of the National People's Party there talking to the press shortly after he cast his vote at the Makati Square in Banjul. And in his address to the press, he has called on Gambians to come out and vote, to understand that parliamentary election is equally important as that of the presidential election. But he has also used the interview to preach peace before, during, and after the polls. I mean, like you said, it's too early to make a conclusion as to whether the turnout is low or not. But certainly, Mr. President, we know the Barakundas in this Ramadan, it will be difficult for you to come out and vote. No wonder you couldn't campaign in the Ramadan. Mr. Much,
yes.
Why bring Modla Joy here?
Of course, he had a dig at the Sisakundas. Now you're going to have a dig at him.
Exactly.
the Barakundas. Absolutely. We should expect that from a president, quite stately. He was very stately, asking everybody to go out and vote and expressing his confidence, because he's using the presidential, because of what happened in the presidential elections, the results, how it favored him. He reckons that will be reflected in the National Assembly elections, when earlier on we were saying that, well, we are not so sure. It will be interesting to test that theory, because there they were voting for President Barrow. Here, the person they will be voting for is the candidate. So, and a lot of things matter in National Assembly elections. Local issues, and even the candidates, their rootedness. I have heard it here, I remember during the PPP era and afterwards. People will actually emphasize that whoever is going to stand must be rooted in that community. All of these things matter in who they're going to vote for. So we'll see whether his confidence will be borne out. And yes, it was a good thing. 252 candidates, in the end a few dropped out. Huge, absolutely huge. But that's just one plank of it. The other one is voter turnout. Just equally important, as it were. So we'll see how things pan out. And even the Ramadan effect. What will be the Ramadan effect on turnout? All of that, I'm not quite sure, because I know that during Ramadan, people get up and go take care of their businesses. Yes, I understand that perhaps to queue, long queues, and you might dehydrate, the heat. There might be also some reasons. But I'm not sure what impact the Ramadan effect will have on turnout. I'm not so sure about that one.
Choi, you've heard from the president. He talks about the issue of maintaining peace before, during, and after the election. Aside from this, what more did you capture from his statement?
One of the important areas is the political participation. The number of candidates we have, in fact, the number of independent candidates which he highlighted, which is a clear indication of the democracy we have in our country. He went further to compare our democracy to that of the UK, rating it the best, better than even that of the UK. And I think when he said that, he was emphasizing the fact that there is that political participation. Now we have the level playing field where people are free from fear. People, do not have the fear. People are confident. People are coming out to exercise their electoral rights. We've seen the campaign, the political mobilization among the political party candidates. The campaign has been peaceful throughout. Nobody, or if there were, some incidents, will be minor incidents. But basically, for me, one of the most important points that he highlighted was the level of political participation. Mr. Mboj, quite interesting. You've highlighted the fact that we will see whether, I think what is more important, it is important that we have many people coming out to cast their votes, and also to have candidates, the participation of candidates in this election. But the turnout also will reflect on how much this will play out, or how significant this election will be when the results are announced.
Yeah, Mr. Mboj, he talked about building a strong foundation. I mean, there's democracy now. People have now liberty to come out and express their interest to seek public office. I mean, we all know, I mean, prior to 2017, in most cases, this parliamentary election, most of the constituencies go on opposed, in most cases, to the APRC back then. But in this election, I mean, there is no constituency where any candidate has gone on opposed.
Oh, absolutely. This is what we were talking about, the explosion of interest. In politics, activists, everybody is getting in on the act. He calls it a level playing field. I am not so sure about that, because we've seen organizations like Gambia Participates and others saying that perhaps incumbents tend to use state resources more. There's been a lot of talk about that, and let's be honest, I am not sure what he means by a level playing field. I know that I'm freer now to contest. Yes, that's why you have lots of independent parties. But what does that say? Yes, on the one hand, it can look like the situation is fertile, you know, it's vibrant, things are happening, but maybe as well what is happening with political parties. They should have been able to attract these people for us to have a proper party system. It also might indicate a breakdown in the party, a distrust in the parties. That is why most people are going independent. So it just depends on how you read it. You know, certainly there's so much going on, but that trust between politicians and the constituents, the electorate, we will test it depending on the turnout. We saw nearly 90% came out in the presidential, but we knew that the National Assembly elections wouldn't have similar percentages, but we hope that it wouldn't be worse than 2017. You cannot tell me that in this transitional phase that we have become even more cynical. We don't want it to be worse than that. What's been happening here? There's been so many news stories that might enhance, that might worsen people's cynicism of politics. We'll see how it plays out.
I mean, I just wonder, you did quote it, Gambia Participates, about using state resources. I want to understand, when you talk about state resources here, what are you talking about exactly?
Oh, normally...
You're talking about the vehicles, security personnel?
No, the security personnel, the president must always have that. There must be some use of state resources. When the president needs to travel, I mean, come on, security, they must be there. There's no denying it. These things are subtle, just as Gambia Participates indicated. Even opposition members, party members, were also using state vehicles to go and do their campaigns. And state officials, it becomes a culture. It's just the idea of what we have with our leaders. It almost becomes a culture. You can see that, for instance, with the police. For instance, if I go and ask for a permit, if they see that perhaps I'm not too friendly with the government, then you'll be reluctant to give it to me. So this is really what the problem is people themselves who are within the state institutions. Then maybe we tend to confuse the state and the government. And maybe we're looking out for, oh, the appointment, I could be dismissed from this. So subconsciously, perhaps, we will give every lending hand to the incumbent. He is the one in power. He is the one that can appoint and fire. So there are subtle psychological ways how really the incumbents got many, many advantages.
And Choi, do you share the same view, I mean, in terms of the use of state resources, as you have had Mr. Mboch quoted Gambia Participates?
Yes, state resources, there are resources, of the state which inevitably the president will use, because when he went out on his tour, it was meant to be a constitutionally mandated tour for him to go around and then speak to the people and then at least sample their opinion, their views, the problems that they're facing, all these things. And critics would say, some will argue that that was done, some will argue that it was not done. But the conclusion here as to whether state resources were used, but to what extent state resources were used, but to what extent were state resources used? Because the security is owned by the state. It's not the government. The government is an institution of the state. But whatever the president does and his ministers, the government is done in the name of the state. But the campaign started, you know, he had candidates in the NPP and the, you know, the coalition going round. But for me, I will agree that state resources were used. But whether it was necessarily utilized as dictated by our constitution in his constitutionally mandated tour.
In this case, you talk to so many people, what they will tell you is that, I mean, the use of vehicles. I mean, they said government vehicles were used. I mean, you talk to some people within the president's circle, they tell you this was a political campaign tool, and that's why the president even had to use the NPP vehicle and not even the government vehicle, and that's why even during the tour you didn't see that, you know, that huge delegation of government ministers in that tour. And even in the case of the vehicles, I mean, you know, the last time we discussed about it when Ahmad Ba came out and he was trying to, you know, explain that, you know, most of these government vehicles are used by the security. And in this case, I mean, do you agree?
Not per se that all these vehicles are used by the security. We have, usually when we go out on tour, we see civil servants. We see civil servants with the president. And when he went on his tour, there were some civil servants. It is a constitutional mandated tour, but what was it meant for? We saw press releases, you know, from the NPP that the president is going out to thank people on his constitutional mandated tour, but he will also use the opportunity to ask voters to vote for, you know, his candidates. And we also saw a memo. A memo came out, which we all access, indicating that, you know, state vehicles need to be parked in or ahead of the presidential tour, which was meant to be used during the tour. So significantly, we've seen that state resources were used. But generally, for me, I think, in my own perspective, the tour was meant to be, you know, a constitutional tour. Turned out to be a tour which the president also used in order to, you know, to call out for people to vote for his candidates. And in that sense, the use of state resources would be bad. The use of state resources can be justified when the president exercises his constitutional mandate of that tour in order to, you know, to thank the people and also to know what their problems are. If that tour was only meant for what it is designed for by the constitution, then the use of state resources, you know, was not bad. But if, as we've seen, the president going around telling people, vote for my candidate, vote for the MPP, vote for this party, that really, it will be difficult for him to justify why he did that.
Absolutely, and for me, with these things, it will be difficult to monitor. The legal framework, what does it say? It doesn't tell me when I can go and do my, meet the people's tour. And let's be honest here.
And for me, I want to know, was this really a constitutionally mandated tour or was it a campaign tour?
Yeah, which
because the thing is that if this was a constitutionally mandated tour, then the president will have used the normal vehicle that he uses. But in this case, we saw him use the NPP vehicle.
Yes. Absolutely.
And even if you look at the delegation, we have, I mean, just 2 or 3 ministers there.
Yes. He had gone to campaign. I mean, he is the leader. He's the leader of the National People's Party. And you would want to go and campaign for your candidates. I mean, anywhere, this is how a democracy would work. So when I heard the hue and cry about the president going to campaign, I said, are you all right? I mean, what else do you expect? If it had been your leader, don't you think that leader would go on campaign? Wow. We're going to know that. It's just that when we need a legislation to clarify. When can he go? When can't he go? What is it that he can spend? What is it that he cannot spend? We really need to, or not just NPP, for all the parties to have proper, strict legislation clauses in there so that we can better monitor what they do. Because so far you really do not have much monitoring. Even the party financiers, we do not know who is putting in money,
that's something that has to apply to all the political parties out of financing and all that. And then it's interesting. Thank you very much, Mr. Modumbo. Thank you very much, Modlami Choi. Well, you're still watching QTV, and we're broadcasting live from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue. It is election day here in the Gambia. People are voting in a parliamentary election. QTV is bringing you comprehensive election coverage. Another team will be here at 5 p.m. Bauka Sisa and the team, they will be here at 5 p.m. And then I shall be back here at 7 p.m. for the election night coverage to bring you all the results as they are being announced by the Independent Electoral Commission. On behalf of the production team, thank you so much for watching, and see you at 7 p.m. Bye-bye.